Okay, here we are back again. This week we have two chapters to review, both 3 and 4. So, the physiology of sexual relationships and response in intimate relationships, uh, like most things, intertwined in this area. So, again, um, I know I didn't mention this last week, but you guys are probably happy about it. Because otherwise last week, like in real class, you guys would have been role playing. Each of you would have had a part described, and you would have had to role play that particular part for the rest of the class. So glad you're happy about that. Didn't really have too much activities for this because we have two chapters to review real quick. Okay, so again, just going to pull up the PowerPoints. I may make a couple of comments, and otherwise that's about it. All right, don't forget to do your quizzes and your discussions. So let me do this. Share a screen. We want this. Slideshow, right? From the beginning. The physiology of sexual response, right? So how does our body react to sexual stimulation, desire, and then outcomes, the actual act? How do we get there? All about what your body is doing, okay? Nice. So our learning objectives. So the biology and psychology interact, right? So we as humans, they believe view sex differently than animals. They believe we have an emotional attachment, a bigger emotional piece that's involved beyond just procreation, which is what most non-human mammals and animals do, right? Their goal is just to perpetuate the species. Our goal is that, but it's also about our relationship with that person. So we talked about Masters and Johnson before, right, and what they came up with as their, we'll keep going about that. And then we'll look at some other newer points of view on the model of sexual response, right? How does our body respond? Okay. So, of course, Kinsey was the first one. He studied you, but right, it was just survey stuff, right? It was actually Masters and Johnson, William Masters, Virginia Johnson, that observed couples having sex and attached electrodes and measured their body responses. Not just got anecdotal data from the observation or from the person, but actually had electrode, physical measurements of what occurred during that, right? So the question I always ask is, I would be asking in class is, how far would you go involved, or would you volunteer at all for sexual research? Like, think about this. And if so, would you be willing to do a survey? Would you be willing to respond or be interviewed after sex or before sex, or would you willing to be observed? And then, of course, would you willing to be hooked up to all kinds of machines, electrodes, while you're having sex? So what would you be willing to do to help us move forward in sexual research? So we see non-human mammals, right? Humans, and then the role of psychology, right, in sex. So Masters and Johnson's, the excitement plateau, orgasm and resolution model, right? EPOR. It's like everything. It's not a fine line. It's not a box. The excitement is in a box. One overlaps into the other, right? One event. It's not just an event. So how do we respond? So this is how we say it. So this is how, you get excited, you plateau, you have an orgasm, and then there's resolution. You come back down into a different cycle, right? It's different for men and women. Excitement. So what's happening? How did your body, how did your erection occur? How does this, how are you able to have sex, right? So here we go, right? Shows you blood actually flows into the penis and helps it to become erect. So then we have the females who's getting excited, right? Going through some of the same things. Their body is getting anticipation of sex. All the parts that are involved, which we discussed last week, how it goes. And then the plateau. So we're trying to train the act of sex, prolonging the act of sex, or hitting a spot where we're in between, prior to ejaculation, prior to orgasm. And then, of course, we're moving on into orgasm. This is the plateau phase, what's happening physically, right? You just keep getting more excited, basically, and your body's responses become more severe. So, and then, of course, we have orgasm. So, and then post-orgasm. What did I do? Did I go backwards? Anyway, right. So there's still a lot of discussion about the female response to orgasm, what exactly is happening and how that happened, right, depending on who you talk to. But of course, the sexual pleasure comes from, is resolved by orgasm. And so, it's very important that everybody enjoy the thing. Most people enjoy sex. If the two people aren't paying attention to each other's needs or desires, then that doesn't necessarily, one person doesn't enjoy it that much. Right? So, another way, right? So stimulation without the penis. And then resolution. So then what happens post-orgasm, right? How does your body start winding down, right? What happens, right? All the things that were engorged are no longer engorged, etc. The same thing, like females settle quiet down too, and their body parts, they settle back down into normal, back into their normal state. Here's some more details. This is all in the book. You read all this, right? Oh, sorry. So, there's a lot of critics now, right? Of course, when Masters and Johnson did their research, there was nobody to criticize because nobody else had anything to say. Now, other things are looked at, right? And I don't know, like, are E&P really separate stages? And, well, we said in the beginning, it's none of them are really separate stages, right? So it's just, is the plateauing just an extension of the excitement pre-orgasm, basically? So, again, a lot of criticism now. A lot of people have different thoughts than the Masters and Johnson. And then, of course, Kaplan has a 3-stage model, right? Desire, excitement, orgasm, and hyposexual desire. So really he's talking about desire, excitement, and orgasm as his 3-stage model. And so that desire for that other person is what, or whatever it is that gets you sexual gratification. The desire to have that is plays a big part, which does make sense, right? So, same thing, just another model. So Reeds, of course, brought in the psychological piece, right? So as I said in the beginning, we have an emotional attachment. We have, particularly, we have an emotional attachment to the person, even if it only lasts during the act. There's some type of psychological piece. That desire is a psychological piece, right? It starts the physiology, but the desire to have that person or that whatever it is that you enjoy sexually is psychological, right? It starts in the mind. Whatever it is you find attractive, or the Reed stages, just like everybody else. Then, of course, there's a lot of big difference about a lot more learning about women's sexual response versus what Masters and Johnson, which of course they were like I said, they were the first research. Of course, we've learned more, we've gotten better, we've done all those things. And right, so they assumed that it was too much the same, basically, right? And that's that for chapter 3. So